guys, it's your girl Rae
and Cat.
Welcome to Modern Outreach.
We're back.
Episode 11. Turn up. Yes, doing it
here.
So episode number 10. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. The focus was basically on LA's mental and physical health, where we kind of, swan dived into those topics.
We really brought up some of the resources we like to use, and we want to do that again by highlighting some more resources, but we want to focus on a different area of supportive services this time.
Yes.
Rae, why don't you let them know what that is?
Today's topic is addiction and harm reduction.
With that energy. No, a great topic.
Yes.
We've mentioned some of these things before, but we really want to talk about the resources this time.
Yes.
But I want to start with harm reduction.
Okay.
If you didn't catch it on our last episode when we talked about harm reduction is that intervention point, really meeting people where they're at when it comes to substance use, when it comes to working with the unhoused population. It looks like syringe exchanges, it's drop-in centers. It can look like a lot of different things, but I think at the core of it, it's education. So it's really a place where you can get that education of like what those resources are that you need, without fear of being penalized for. It's a very, very welcoming, warm place. All of the drop-in centers are, at least from my experience. I think if you've had negative experiences with other places in the past, these are also good places to look for, especially if you are someone that uses drugs. It's a good starting off point, I would say. One place that I've heard really good things in, I've had really good things about, I've had really great experiences with, is the LA Community Health Project, I believe is what they're called, downtown LA. They're really focused on harm reduction. It is an example of many drop-in centers, but the goal is to create a community space. Oftentimes they offer meals or food, they offer water, offer a place to get fentanyl testing strips, which are really great if you are using drugs but you're scared of that drug being laced with fentanyl. The goal is to avoid overdose. That is the goal here. So it is taking that step, and this is a good place to start. Really good example of harm reduction. Is there anything you want to add to that one?
When it comes to harm reduction, what is harm reduction? So harm reduction is giving alternatives to something. It's giving alternatives that might slow down the addiction speed, basically, if that makes any sense. For example, if I wanted a client to come down off of fentanyl, then the harm reduction approach would be to introduce drugs that didn't have such a high impact on their health, right? So how could they wean down from fentanyl? Or a better example is meth, right? So if someone is addicted to meth, then how would they harm reduction their way off of it with methadone, right? So if you're a fentanyl addict, maybe you could come down off of a less harmful drug. For someone who's an alcoholic, if they pounded tequila every day, how could we take a harm reduction approach? Maybe they could come down to beer instead of the hard alcohol. If they drink dark, maybe they could drink light or clear. Again, trying to wean down from harmful levels of drugs or alcohol. The whole point of harm reduction in these places that Kat mentioned are that, number one, people have a safe place to use. that the materials that in which they use are clean, so that they are not, transmitting HIV or AIDS through needles and things upon that nature, where they can get clean using materials. A lot of people have gone against these harm reduction facilities, saying that they're actually bad for the community, in which, no, they are not. They are teaching a less harmful way and approach to doing what people want to do, but keeping them alive. The whole point is to keep people alive. And so harm reduction is huge. A lot of people, when you say harm reduction, they don't know what it is. And so how can you, number one, put it in effect into your own life? And how can you teach those if you don't know what it is? So getting a good sense of what harm reduction is will actually help you in your addiction, or help those that are experiencing addiction.
Yeah, at the core, it's the education. It's learning how to be safer and live a healthier life at the end of the day.
Yeah. Harm reduction can also go into someone, and I bring this up a lot, with gambling as well. A lot of people gamble, some on different levels than others. Perfect example is playing the lottery every single day. Scratchers. Do you know how much money people put into these things, and it becomes an addiction? And so I do want to bring that up, in which there are other ways to also use harm reduction and gambling. So please look into those, whether it's not going to the casino, maybe going from the casino to scratchers, maybe going from playing the lottery every day, or the $5 or $20 scratchers to the $1 scratcher, or the $2 scratcher, or not making it a weekly or a daily event, because you are actually taking from your savings, you're taking from your quality of life. And if you gamble on a higher level, you're also taking from your family, and their livelihoods as well. And so I always want to reiterate, it's not just drugs, it's so much else. It's food, it's media, it's so much that people get addicted to. It's porn. It's so much that you can actually use harm reduction in all these avenues as well.
And not only with addiction, I think harm reduction can also look like temporary housing, bridge housing. This is all forms of harm reduction, because it's reducing the amount, it's leading to a healthier life.
Yeah.
And transitional housing isn't permanent housing, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that's the goal of harm reduction. So that's why you might not like the idea of a syringe exchange, but don't knock the entirety of harm reduction, because that's also knocking shelters. It's also knocking seatbelts. Like,
yeah.
It looks like so many different things, but again, it's education, and it's focusing on healthy living.
Yes, harm reduction is also prevention as well.
Yes.
So, also, take into consideration that you are preventing horrific things, health conditions, mental health conditions, everything. Everything is so interesting because it's so connected. But yes, so it is prevention. Also, harm reduction, what you don't want to do is, you don't want to get addicted on the thing that you're harm reductioning with, if that makes any sense. If you go down off a drug to a lesser drug, that doesn't mean that now you're addicted to 2 drugs. I want to reiterate that. Because a lot of the time people are like, I'm trying to get off of fentanyl, man, and now I'm doing meth, and I'm just going to do meth. But then now they have an addiction to fentanyl and meth. I've seen it. So once you start practicing harm reduction, make sure that you're not double backing and still going back to what you're winging off of. You have to stay the course. You're winging off, because what happens is your body gets used to you on meth now, and maybe that has a lesser component of overdose, right? So then when you're maybe out with friends and they offer you some fentanyl and you're like, you know what, yeah, I used to do it back in the day, your body is not going to be able to take that. That's what causes overdose a lot of the times, because they're going back on what they came off of. Maybe you were sober for a couple of days or weeks or months or maybe years. And when you've been sober for years and you go back and you start doing the same amount that you remember you doing, your body cannot handle that. And that causes overdose. So again, make sure that we're taking those steps and we're standing on business and we're not going backwards. So yeah.
Yeah, that comes with the consistency and connecting with these facilities and these treatment centers. And it could be a day treatment center, it could be an outpatient, it could be inpatient. There's so many different varieties out there. So it's really important to access these drop-in centers or these access points and see what resources are available and who can provide those referrals, because these are the places you go to get these referrals. You can't just walk into a lot of these places. A lot of the times it's a commitment that you're making, so you have to go through the process, the intake process. Sometimes there's a wait list. So it really is about that consistency and finding those local resources that are closest to you that will make the most sense.
Absolutely. Another part of harm reduction is having Narcan available to you. Whether that is if you are an addict and you got your buddy system and your buddies have Narcan and everyone's strapped up with Narcan just in case, make sure that you have appropriate amounts of Narcan. I have used 1, 2, 3, 4 Narcans on a person to wake them up off of overdosing on fentanyl. So if you have one Narcan, that might not be enough. And so make sure that you know how to use uncomfortable stimuli when you're doing it, pressing on the chest really hard with your knuckles, making sure that you're, doing your heart pumps and all that stuff while you're doing fentanyl to keep that person alive. And that is a part of harm reduction, especially if you educate the people around you when they know that you are on drugs. Educate your family and educate your friends.
No, I really love that you brought up Narcan. And I also just want to highlight off the education part, the Good Samaritan law. This comes with education. If you are with someone and they are overdosing, it protects you when you call 911 from legal consequences because you are saving that person's life at the end of the day. So they don't want you to not call 911 for fear of not retaliation, but for fear of the consequences of interacting with law enforcement or emergency personnel or mandatory reporters. So please, if you are with someone, and it's always better to use with someone else than it is alone.
Yes, don't use
Fortunately,
alone.
that is the truth.
Yes.
So yeah, that is something that a lot of places with that focus on harm reduction, they like to highlight, and it should be common knowledge. It really should.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. Props on that. Yes, very valid and very important as well. And especially not to use alone. That's so important. You definitely need someone there just in case.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else about harm reduction?
I think let's move on to the more treatment side.
Okay.
I want to start by mentioning a treatment facility that I have had positive results with, Tarzana Treatment Center. They are a huge entity. They really do provide that rehabilitation needs when it comes to they really provide that treatment needed, the in-house patient treatment. I think they also will come and pick participants up. It's really easy to refer people. Oftentimes there is a wait list though, so it really is important to complete the intake that you can, but it's all about calling at the right time, because you never know when a bed's gonna become available. It's normally for what, like 60 days or something like that? 60, 90? 30, 60, I'm not 100% sure what the length of time is, but that's what I mean by like the timing is everything, because you might catch someone at the end of their treatment cycle, and then you can kind of come in for that bed. So again, you need insurance, you need that referral, but Those numbers are all going to be on the website, on our website, because we really just wanted to highlight those ones that we've had positive experiences with.
For sure.
I'm sure you have another one that you want to mention as well. Because that's not the only one. There's a dozen.
Yeah. I would like to highlight Claire Matrix. They are an amazing resource. They have tons of opportunities for people, different programs, free sometimes, no charge, or maybe with your insurance. They are like top-notch professionals when it comes to addiction. They understand the cycle of addiction, what it looks like, what it feels like, and of course they give the allotted time that one would need to really take advantage of their services. A lot of the times they would reach out to different organizations just to introduce themselves in whichever programming they could utilize. And I know that a lot of success stories have came out of Claire Matrix. They've really tried to help me navigate through different services when it came to my clients, especially when I had young adults that were a little bit too young to get into their program. They would have different resources and things like that. So I really appreciate that. They wanted to work with people, work with us. And so I'm always up for an organization that is easy to work with and, you know, helping the better good of people. So if you have a family member that is ready, and that is what they like emphasize the most, is that the person has to be ready. No one's going to be running after anyone. A lot of these services, some people can walk out and some people can't. And so, you know, especially when it's court ordered, a lot of people cannot leave these services, right? Because it counts on their livelihood. And if they don't finish these programs, and of course they have to go to jail and things like that. And so you have to be ready. You have to be ready to change your life around. Or if you have a client and you see that, you know what, it has to be done, have those difficult conversations, have those interventions with your client and attempt to save their lives. And, you know, addiction is interesting because relapsing is a part of addiction. So no matter what, it's going to happen. But you never know when your influence is going to be that actual time when that person is like, you know what, this is when I quit. And so you never want to give up on someone. And if you want to, you know, if you're interested in this work and you don't know what addiction looks like, by all means, Jesus. I mean, I feel like intervention has been on TV for 15 years at this point. Everybody and their mama has watched an episode at least of intervention. And so that is on, like, that's what it looks like. And that's what it looks like in shelter. That's what it looks like on the street. And so, you know, Clear Matrix is one of those things that, wow, I've seen a difference with people. Even maybe if they did relapse, they were so clean and happy, and life and hope was just like put back into them. So Clear Matrix for sure.
No, I love that one too. And I love also that you highlighted that sometimes it's not the first time round that sticks when it comes to treatment. So being able to have the opportunity to try again, I've definitely seen some participants where by the fourth time, fourth time might seem like a lot, but that fourth time stuck. And then it's maybe been 5-6 years and they've been completely sober. They've been really able to reintegrate back into maybe getting a job and having a functional home. So again, like, not losing hope, really believing it, if it doesn't work the first time, that there is possibility for that second, third time to work. So yeah, and sometimes a certain program is not going to be a great fit for you. It's okay to try a different program. Everyone's going to work a little differently. So really acknowledging that as well, and try exploring other options when it comes to treatment. But again, these are two of many options, especially in LA. There are, oh my God, I don't even know how many.
Yeah, a lot. Also, I wanna say this though. When you are a case manager, and let's say that you have a client on your caseload with severe addiction concerns, and you write those notes in your case notes, I do want you to know that entities like Clarimatrix, like the Weingart Center, they have access to case notes. They have access to the HMIS system. I do want you to know that, in which you are actually hindering your client because, of course, you're saying all the behavioral concerns within your case notes that have to do with the addiction aspect of your client. And this is inside information, and a lot of entities, they will go into the case notes and they will read them, and they will determine based off your case notes whether or not they're going to allow that person to come into their facility. And so I do want you to know that if you do have a client that has severe addiction concerns and they do have behavioral outbursts or whatever the case is, make sure that your case notes are private. Okay, when you push that private button in your case notes, no other entity can read those case notes. They're just there, and they can be opened up like on the back end, but no provider can actually read them once they're locked and made private. So I do want you guys to take note of that, because you don't want to hinder a client from getting services based on your case notes, because that will happen sometimes. But yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing that up and bringing like that inside perspective. What's next?
The Weingart Center downtown. I want to do that. I had a client that was suffering from severe mental health and severe addiction, and they came to shelter, and no one knew what to do with this kid. He was literally about to get kicked out. He was writing on the walls. He was being really promiscuous with other men. And come to find out, when his family got homeless and they went out on the street because of his mental health and he was vulnerable, it only took him 3 days to become a full-blown meth addict. Only 3 days. Because of his mental health. They were only homeless for 3 days, people. They got on the street, they were living in a car, and he would get out the car with his family and be like, oh, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go there. And he literally disappeared for 3 days and came back an addict. So, and they landed on my doorstep in shelter. And I didn't know what to do. I wanted to save this kid. He was worth saving. People are neglecting the youth, and they have the highest levels of addiction. And so I just didn't want him to be a part of that statistic. And I worked with his mom and his family, and they were able to say yes, they were willing enough. And I put him into the Weingart Center downtown. And they took him. And it's really cool because you don't have any, and people are like, why'd you put him downtown in rehab? Like, who does that? And that might seem like the most radical thing to do, because downtown's like the epicenter of drugs, and I put him in rehab downtown. But how they run their facility is pretty awesome. They have no connection with outside whatsoever. They have to like organize time to talk to their families on the phone. It is really like they're on a different planet there. And they are supposed to get better there without, and that's it. They get better there. And the people there that work there are truly amazing and believe in success because they were addicts themselves. And so I love that approach, because they know exactly what it takes, and they can really wrap around a young person. So I suggest the Weingart downtown if you have someone under the age of if you have somebody over the age of 18 but under the age of 26, they can actually go there and utilize the rehab services there.
I really like when there are extra programs that focus on that age range, because I feel like it's such an important intervention period, and I think often neglected when it comes to like aging out of the system, you could say, but not necessarily having all the tools for like what comes after that. So yeah. Any agency that is providing that support, big shout out to you guys.
For sure.
Really love to see it.
Yes. So, you know, when it comes to addiction, I do want to say that if you're grown, and I say grown, like if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, do you. You've lived life. You've made the decisions in which you want to live. If you want to get better, more power to you. Let's do it. If you don't want to get better, then that's on you. It's your life, 100%. But if you are a young person, no one should be giving up on you. You should not be giving up on you. You have time. You have not lived your life. You're trying to navigate through life to find who you are. Trauma is real. We've all been through it as young kids. It's how you empower yourself with your trauma and make sure that makes you a strong person. Do not collapse within your trauma. Speak to a professional. Get the help that you need. And make sure that you know the value of you. And do not allow a substance to control the beauty and the talents in which you have for the world. So I do want to say that.
Oh.
So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And Cat is gonna hit the button.
Until next time.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Please. And thank you.
Konnichiwa.